because I will say, like, when Drag Race came out, I was like, I'm not gonna watch that show. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. Uh, and then when I started dating Mark, who would become my husband, he was like, just give it a shot. Like, why are you so against it? And I was like, oh my God, this is internal homophobia, which I had a lot of. Like, when I moved to New York City, it was a little bit of culture shock because the gay people were very out and proud.
Everywhere.
You go to Chelsea, the West Village, they're holding hands, which was
Just the sheer
shock. Like,
number of like people who are expressing themselves
yeah.
openly is so, it's like it breaks your brain a little bit the first time you come into that.
And I'm literally getting chills right now thinking about walking through Chelsea and seeing guys holding hands and women holding hands with each other. And it was so beautiful. And I got to a place where PDA, public displays of affection, was a little easier in New York. But I'm still uncomfortable holding hands with a guy, especially in Texas. I won't do it, just because Texas is a little more dangerous still. But like here, like in New York and LA, when I'm with my friends, like, you know, we talk about Drag Race. I talk about how beautiful I think Rihanna is. I talk about, you know, how Madonna was great for me growing up. Like, I loved everything about her. How now, like, I'm such a Swiftie, and like seeing Beyonce on stage and all the outfit changes, it's artistry at its best. And I have such an appreciation for it. I'm not afraid to love things now. And with my friends, queer and straight alike, I hug them until it's a little uncomfortable because I think, and it's funny because I'll hug someone and they'll give me a pat on the back and then let go. And I just hold them for like an extra 2 or 3 seconds. And then they come back and they hug again. And I think everyone needs to embrace that. Like, I didn't get a lot of hugs as a kid, and I never felt, I certainly would never think to touch another gay person. There were just like 2 or 3 other gay boys at school, and we avoided each other like the plague because we didn't want anyone to know. And the thing is, we would have been stronger together. Like, I look back and I'm like I could have had an ally or someone to talk to about these things. And yeah, now I feel like I reclaim through loving my friends openly and honestly and as hard as I can. And I think it's such a comforting thing. And
You're pulling out my heart.
Embrace your friends, love them.
I think we're like the same person. You're like telling me my own stories. I remember at a specific time being like, okay, I'm gay and I like guys, but like the drag stuff, that's too much. Like, oh, you're just trying to be a woman and blah 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 blah. The first time someone like successfully got me to sit down and watch Drag Race, literally half of me died, and it was that internalized homophobia side. And I was like, oh wow, like I didn't realize that this is like such a great replacement for like, I grew up in the Britney Spears generation as opposed to Madonna. So, but like when she was kind of like not presenting as a pop star anymore and was more of a celebrity who was getting like not doing music as much, and I was like, wow, these drag queens are like on that level sometimes. They're a great replacement. And it's so funny. I like find anytime I talk to a person who is openly queer on the podcast, I always find myself asking that ridiculous Drag Race finale question of like, what would you tell your younger self? Because it really is such a great question. And a lot of times I find that people like haven't really thought about like taking care, like not just taking care of that young person inside of them, but also like openly talking to them, like actually verbalizing the things. There's so much more power in saying things out loud than it is just thinking it in your head. It really does make it real.
Yeah. And it's funny because for me, it was baby steps the whole way. Like, you know, I was dealing with a lot of trauma, just poverty, domestic violence, homelessness. Like, I was already dealing with that, and then realizing in my 20s, like, oh my gosh, I've got all this internal homophobia and I don't know what to do with it. But I will say I'm proud because I did baby steps. You know, I started dating this guy who was really femme, and some of my friends were like, ew, he's femme, like, you know, we're all masked. And I was like, y'all are gross. Like, I was like, this guy is beautiful. Like, he's a man, but he's also embracing like his femininity, and it's beautiful. And then, you know, I dated some trans people and they were amazing. And I just felt like I learned a lot. I became friends with a lot of people that I never thought I would. And I mean, now it's like, you know, even 5 years ago watching Drag Race, I would never be like, oh, I'm attracted to this drag queen when they're not in drag.